The Good Morning America studio was a vibrant epicenter of morning television energy, its iconic Times Square set bathed in golden light and buzzing with the cheers of an enthusiastic audience as the upbeat themed music faded, signaling the start of a blockbuster segment on a crisp July 24, 2025, morning. Mark Wahlberg, the rugged Hollywood action star known for his Boston grit in The Departed and Dead, strode onto the stage in a casual button-down and jeans, his intense gaze and charismatic smile drawing whoops from the crowd, there to promote his new thriller Flight Risk and discuss his faith-based fitness app. The air hummed with the promise of a lively interview, given George Stephanopoulos' reputation for polished yet probing questions and Mark's history of standing firm on his Catholic faith, as seen in his 2024 Unholy Trinity podcast where he addressed personal growth. George, seated at the anchor desk with Robin Roberts and Laura Spencer, kicked things off with his signature professionalism. "Mark, welcome to GMA. Flight Risk looks intense. How do you tap into that raw energy for roles like this?" The audience cheered, but Mark's smile held a subtle edge as he settled in. "George, it's all about commitment to body, mind, soul," he replied, his Boston accent thick with conviction. The crowd applauded, but George leaned forward, his eyes twinkling. "Commitment. Mark, your faith journey's inspiring, but some say your fitness empire feels a bit commercialized." "Don't you worry, it's more brand than belief." The question was light but pointed, echoing unverified 2025 YouTube claims of a clash over Wahlberg's authenticity, and Mark's eyebrows arched. "Commercialized, George? My app's about helping people faith in action, not a sales pitch," he responded, his tone firm yet composed. The audience murmured, catching the defense, and George's grin widened. "Helping, Mark? Critics call it preach your Bible quotes and workouts, don't they? Alienate non-believers." The studio buzzed with tension, and Robin tried to pivot. "Mark, Flight Risk has you back in action. Tell us about the stunts." But Mark held his ground. "No, Robin, let's address why George is framing my faith as divisive." The crowd roared, split between those who loved Mark's fire and those who appreciated George's journalism. George, unfazed, raised an eyebrow. "Divisive? Mark, I'm just asking what viewers think of your evangelical turn feels intense in Hollywood." Mark's jaw tightened, his voice rising. "Intense? My faith saved me, Georgia, not like some media that mocks it for clicks." The audience cheered, some clapping for Mark's passion, others murmuring at George's persistence. The producers, watching from the control room, exchanged nervous glances. This was veering off the promo script, mirroring debunked YouTube tales of Wahlberg walking off. George pressed on, "Mox, Mark, your Wahlburgers empire's fun, but mixing faith and buzziness, don't you see the conflict?" Mark's eyes narrowed, his tone sharp. "Conflict? It's harmony. Georgia, you're twisting my life into a scandal." The stage was a powder keg, the crowd fueling the fire, as cameras zoomed in on Mark's steely gaze and George's raised eyebrow, setting the scene for a fiery clash that would dominate headlines, though no verified 2025 incident occurred. As Good Morning America returned from a commercial break, the studio was a pressure cooker, the audience buzzing with excitement after the fiery opening exchange between Mark Wahlberg and George Stephanopoulos. The set's cheerful Times Square backdrop felt almost ironic against the simmering tension, as Laura tried to reset with her warm enthusiasm. "Welcome back, folks. Mark Wahlberg's here, talking Flight Risk and more." But Mark, seated with his arms crossed, wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. His eyes locked on George. "More, George? You've got more to say about my faith. Let's hear it," he said, his voice dripping with challenge. The crowd gasped, and George leaned forward, his smile strained but professional. "Mark, I'm just curious. Your app's got Bible verses and workouts. Don't you worry it's too preachy for a diverse audience?" The question doubled down on his earlier probe, and Mark's jaw tightened. "Preachy, George? It's guidance, helping people find strength, not preaching," he fired back, his Boston accent cutting through the applause. The audience erupted, some cheering Mark's conviction, others murmuring at his jab. George, unfazed, raised an eyebrow. "Guidance, Mark, You're giving us this devout Catholic imagia. Don't act surprised when we ask if it's genuine or just good for business." The jab was sharp, and Mark's voice rose. "Business? My faith's my rock, Georgie, and not a marketing tool like your tough guy questions." The crowd roared, and Robin tried to intervene. "Mark, your roles are iconic, let's talk flight risk." But Mark waved her off. "No, Robin, I'm tired of George painting my beliefs as a gimmick for his segment." The accusation landed like a punch, and George's grin faltered, his tone sharpening. "Gimmick? Mark, I'm just doing my job asking questions. You're the one getting defensive." The audience was in a frenzy, some chanting Mark, while others clapped for George's poise. Mark leaned forward, his voice booming. "Defensive? You're implying I'm faking my faith, George, like I'm some Hollywood hypocrite." The crowd gasped, and George's face reddened, his voice trembling with frustration. "Hypocrite? Mark, I respect your journey, but you're acting like I'm attacking your whole life." Mark's eyes narrowed, his tone icy. "You are attacking me, George, turning my convictions into a punchline." "I thought this was GMA, not a trial." The studio was chaos, the audience on its feet, as the producers signaled frantically for the band to play. The music started, but it couldn't drown out the drama. George, his hands gesturing, fired back. "Trial? Mark, you're making this personal, acting like I'm the enemy. This is journalism." Mark stood, his hands on his hips. "Journalism? You're using me for drama, George, and I'm not here for it." The crowd roared, and George stood too, his voice booming. "Drama? Mark, you chose the spotlight. Don't cry foul when I ask real questions." The audience gasped, and the cameras stayed locked on the two, capturing every moment of the escalating feud. Mark's face contorted with fury. "Real questions? You're throwing shade to look tough, George." "I'm done." The producers, now in full panic, signaled for security, but the stage was a powder keg, and the fuse was burning fast. Despite no verified 2025 clash occurring, the Good Morning America studio was a battlefield, the air thick with the heat of the escalating clash between Mark Wahlberg and George Stephanopoulos, the audience on the edge of their seats as the verbal duel reached a fever pitch. Mark, now standing, loomed over the set, his button-down straining as he pointed at George. "You think you are clever, George, turning my faith into your morning show circus. But I'm not your preachy punchline." The crowd roared, split between those who admired Mark's fire and those who lived for George's journalism. George, standing to match him, his voice sharp. "Punchline? Mark, you're serving up this devout imagia. Don't act shocked when I question it." The jab was brutal, echoing unverified 2025 YouTube claims of George challenging Mark's authenticity, and Mark's voice boomed. "Question? You're accusing me of commercializing my beliefs, George, when I'm just living them." The audience gasped, and the band tried to play a light riff, but the noise was drowned out by the crowd's cheers. George, his eyes glinting, fired back. "Living them? Mark, your app's got Bible verses and burpesa. Don't blame me for calling it out." The crowd gasped, and Mark's face reddened, his voice trembling with fury. "Calling it out? I've dedicated my life to faith, George, and I'm still standing." The insult was a direct hit, and George's smile vanished, his tone icy. "Standing? You chose the Hollywood spotlight. Mark, don't cry foul when I do my job." The studio was chaos, the audience on its feet, as Lara tried to regain control. "Mark, your flight risk looks thrilling. Let's focus there." Mark, his fists clenched, snapped. "Thrilling? George is twisting my convictions into clickbait, Lara, and I'm sick of it." The crowd roared, some chanting Mark, while others shouted George. As the tension skyrocketed, George, his hands on his hips, shot back. "Clickbait? You gave us the script with your faith fitness brand. Mark, don't get mad when I read it." Mark's voice rose to a shout. "Read it? You're attacking my integrity, George, like I'm some profit-driven preacher." The audience gasped, and George's eyes narrowed, his voice booming. "Preacher? I'm holding you accountable, Mark, is something your fans let you dodge." The jab was a low blow, and Mark took a step closer, his voice a low growl. "Accountable? You're just chasing views, George, and I'm not your prop." The crowd was in a frenzy, sensing the climax, as George fired back, "Prop, this is GMA, Mark, if you can't handle the heat, there's the door." Mark's eyes flashed with fury, his voice a shout, "Heat? You went too far, George." He slammed his hand on the table, the sound echoing through the studio, and turned toward the wings, his strides purposeful. The audience roared, some cheering his exit, others booing George's audacity, as security moved in, unsure whether to follow. The cameras stayed locked on Mark, capturing the moment that would dominate headlines. Though no verified 2025 appearance by Wahlberg involved such a clash, the producers,